which recently documents the triumphs and tragedies of his remarkable career. Barry McGuigan joins us now. Good morning, sir.
Great to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Pleasure to have you here, Barry. Pleasure indeed.
Barry, you were kind of, and I don't know if you even remember this, right, but given the recent
She's too young,
success and all the rest, you were born into celebrity because, of course, your dad was a very well-known singer and he represented Ireland in Eurovision. He did very well. He came
He came fourth.
Oh, fourth.
He came fourth in the year that the Spanish girl won with that wonderful title, La La La.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I do.
It was.
And I remember his outfit on the night was green, white, and gold.
That's right. He had a fantastic felt green jacket, and yeah, he was a great old singer, my old man, and he travelled the length and breadth of the country.
That actually stood you in great stead in terms of your career, because we talked there in the intro about how you united. I mean, you're a Catholic boy from Clones Monaghan, childhood sweetheart is a Protestant, and you marry her. But you were, in the height of the Troubles, acutely aware of the situation and what was going on around you. Did you do an Irish anthem? Did you do a British anthem?
Exactly.
No, you didn't. What you did was you went for the greatest Irish song of all, which is Danny Boy.
And it's a unifying song, Mark.
Completely.
And the thing about it was, we grew up in Clones in the 60s. My mum and dad had a grocery business, and we had, it would have been sort of 80%, 20% Catholic Protestants. So we dealt with a lot of Protestants, and I knew a lot of Protestants, and we had great friends. And then sort of moving into the north and boxing in the very troubled times of the 70s, when it was a very tragic time and terrible. Lots of murders and bombs, it frightened the living daylights. In fact, in 76, we asked to go for the Leinster Championships. Things were so bad. So travelling through there and knowing the hurt that people were suffering, and then going in to Belfast, and I didn't need to put green, white and gold on my head and say I'm Irish. Everybody knew who I was and knew where I came from. And everywhere you went, the pavements were red, white and blue, or there were murals on the wall, or there were green, white and gold. And there was so much sadness. I just didn't want to perpetuate any of that. And I wanted to take a stance of neutrality. I wanted to wear the United Nations flag of peace on my shorts.
A couple of simple gestures though, Barry, and you get everybody behind. What was the slogan they had as well? Was let McGuigan do the fighting?
Yeah, leave the fighting to McGuigan. It was great, and it really meant a lot to me, and we had amazing support. 12,000 people travelled across for the title fight against Pedrosa. 20 million people watched it on the BBC.
I remember it.
It's incredible when you think about that.
Nights. We haven't had too many of them. Well, I mean, Steve Collins gave us a great night, and Bernard Dunn gave us a
Bernard was a national, and still is a national hero. I mean, he got a massive audience over here. So, but it was a very important time, you know. And it's interesting that the Queen has just come to Ireland for the first time in 100 years. And you know, we really like each other, and that's the point. The English and the Irish really like each other. There are those few, and of course the history and all of that sort of stuff, but we really like each other, and I think it's the best thing that's ever happened. And I know we're going through a fairly austere time over here at the moment, but you know what great people we are, and what great hosts we are. And we've had Obama, we've had the Queen, and the country is going to get back on its feet again soon.
Barry, the book, I know you were telling us you spent a long time getting it right and worked very, very hard to get it right. And it's a wonderful story, and so much has happened to you in your life. But the prologue to me was interesting because it's about that night. It's about the 8th of June, 1985. And it's like your entire life is crystallised into that one evening. And it's the most exciting prologue I think I've ever written. You can't wait. Even though you know what happened, you're like, oh, go on, tell the rest of the story. And there's lovely little details there. Like you had the Rocky theme tune. And you have a lovely line that says, I know everyone does it now and has their own theme tune, but I swear to God we were the first. Is that true?
That is the God's honest truth. And in fact, we got ABC in America, and NBC came over to watch my fights, and CBS, and CBS came over with a guy called Tim Ryan and Sugar Ray Leonard and Gil Clancy, and Clancy is, and Ryan, and all the Irish names. But they came over, and they could not believe the atmosphere. I mean, Belfast was, the atmosphere was so electric. And again, going back to your point, Mark, there was so little to cheer about that this was an amazing time for them to get together.
Great time.
And it was just amazing, the atmosphere. They lift the roof off, and these guys said, oh my God, it's crazy.
And your father led,
and my father led with Danny Boy. But that was sort of later on. But we decided we would have a music, you know, coming out, and we had the original Rocky music, not the Eye of the Tiger, the original one, you know, dan dan da da dan da da dan, and it was huge and massive, and it really was special time, massive.
Those those nights we talked about, I mean, we're kind of used to them now. In actual fact, the kind of the big night rolls along every now and again, whether it's us or whether it's an international one. But back in those days, an Irish man fighting for the real world title, and let's be honest, there's about 15 world titles at the moment, right? But the real ones are the WBC and the WBA, and the WBC is the one. That's the one that Ali had. That's the one that that the great boxers have had. So for an Irish guy to be going for that was quite extraordinary. The whole, even people who knew nothing about boxing, couldn't care less about it, were going.
That's right. I mean, there were only 2 titles then, and I fought over 15 rounds. It was the WBA actually, but it was the WBA was actually the very first organisation back in the 60s, and they split in the early 60s. So the WBA and WBC were the only 2 recognised bodies. So it was really something. It was very special. And Pedrosa had been champion for 7.5 years. He'd made 19 successful defences. It was a long time. So he was the guy that I was gunning for from the very beginning of my pro career. He was the champion in 1977. I didn't turn pro until 1981. So I knew that if my chance came around, his style and his technique was going to be, he was going to be the guy to fight. So he was the one I wanted, and it was an amazing night. And coming back to Dublin, you know something, Mark? People often say to me, what's the greatest memory? Coming back to Belfast, within an hour they had 70,000 people there, and I came to Dublin, a couple 100,000 people came out to see me. It took me an hour and a half to get from one side of O'Connell Street to the other. And I've got a picture of me looking, one of the, I think it was the Irish Independent, from behind my head when I had hair, and put my hands up like this, and the crowd is just unbelievable. And that was one of the greatest moments in my life.
One of the other things, Barry, that's very clear in the book is the loves of your life, like Sandra, your father, your brother, and you dedicate the book to those people. And, I mean, your relationship with Sandra has stood the test of time, incredibly so.
30 years in December.
Congratulations to you both on that. Was it hard for her ever watching you fight, though? Did she battle with that?
Oh, very much so. I mean, she had real difficulty in watching me fight, but she'd rather have been there. And it's funny, she was younger at that time. My son, who won the ABAs in England, who won the Irish under-21s and then the Ulster Seniors, she couldn't watch him fight ever. She went with Eddie Jordan's wife, Marie, to watch him in his first championship, and she had to leave. So she couldn't watch her son, but she could watch me. So that's interesting, isn't it? So my poor father, God rest him, I know what he must have had to go through. I think he had to take Valium to calm himself down to watch me fight. So yeah, it wasn't easy for them, but you know, they were a crucial part of the whole story. You know?
It's some story, Barry, I have to say, it really is.
One of the things that's striking about it is how philosophical you are about what life gives and what life takes away. And you say that for every great thing, there was something got taken away.
There was a bit of pathos as well. Yeah.
Pat went in '86.
Yeah, so he was 52, Mark. 52 years old. My brother hung himself at 34 years old, and he was very close to me. And my daughter got leukemia. She got leukemia in '97, but she's great. And I was actually doing a movie. It was one of the best times of my life. I was doing a movie out in Ardmore.
Daniel Day-Lewis, who's an amazing guy and a great friend of mine, and Jim Sheridan, and you know, Emily Watson, and Brian Stott, and there was such a Ken Stott, I should say, and Brian Cox. Was such an amazing bunch of people, and right at the end of it, I got this phone call. You got to go to the phone quickly, Barry. So I was in Ardmore doing the boxing scenes, and I ran to the phone, and my doctor came. My wife sobbing in the background, and my doctor says, "Barry, I've dreadful news for you. Danika's got leukemia." And you could have hit me with a hammer. I was just numb. So I went straight to the hospital in St. Bart's and spent 6 weeks on the floor, hoping and praying that she'd get better. And we got amazing messages of support, and thankfully she made a recovery. All grown up now, a beautiful girl.
She's 25 and an actress, out of work actress, I hasten to add. So it was absolutely fantastic that she got better, and I'm a patron of Click Sergeant, so very important to me that.
It is extraordinary that those achievements, and they're so far in your past, but are still so indelibly etched in our brain.
And will be forever.
One man and his efforts, whether by whatever, sporting or whatever, that can lift an entire nation.
You're looking fantastic, by the way, I have to say, Barry.
Thank you very much.
Super fit. Do you still?
I train really hard, and my son keeps me at it, and I've got a young kid called Carl Frampton, who's an outstanding kid. He's going to be the world champion.
What's his name?
Carl Frampton.
That's right.
He's going to be the world champion, I promise you. And look, there's the book. Come and see me in Easton Street, 11 o'clock tomorrow. And I'm in Fleming's in Monaghan at 3 o'clock. So come along
Barry,
and meet me and sign.
Book or no book, you draw a crowd.
Thank you very much.
We would
God
happily
bless.
chat to you all day. It's a wonderful read, whether you're into boxing or not. You're a fabulous man. Thank you.